Hello and welcome to the Primetime News on Mitv. I'm Stella Opara. Coming up in the news, the National Assembly has outlined major reforms in the newly enacted Electoral Act 2026, introducing mandatory electronic transmission of results, compulsory use of the bimodal voter accreditation system, and digital membership registers for political parties in a bid to strengthen Nigeria's electoral integrity ahead of the 2027 general election. In a statement issued on Sunday by his Directorate of Media and Public Affairs, Senate leader Okpeyemi Bamidele said the legislation is the culmination of 2 years of consultations with key stakeholders, including the Independent National Electoral Commission, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, civil society organizations, and development partners. Bamidele, who emphasized that the law reflects a national consensus, said it was a collective work that involves nearly all critical stakeholders, noting that inputs from partners were incorporated before the bill was transmitted for presidential assent. Bamidele noted the Electoral Act 2026 introduces several structural and technological changes, including dedicated INEC fund, which establishes a financial autonomy and mandates release of election funds at least 6 months before polls. Mandatory BVAS accreditation allows presiding officers to use BVAS or other approved technology to verify voters and electronic transmission of results, which states that polling units' results must be transmitted electronically to the INEC Result Viewing Portal, IREV, with penalties for non-compliance. Still on election matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has said it will review the Electoral Act 2026 in order to comply with the law as regards schedules for the 2027 elections. Adedayo Oketola, the Chief Press Secretary and Media Advisor to the INEC Chairman, Professor Joash Amukpiton, said the Commission would release a revised timetable. Oketola, who was not specific on the date for the release, insisted that INEC was committed to abiding by the laws of the land. He stated this in an interview with journalists while reacting to the demand of some political parties for the release of a new timetable. Leaders of the parties had said that another timetable had become inevitable in the light of the new Electoral Act. They added that it was essential for them to organize primaries and other internal activities ahead of the polls. INEC had last Friday announced that the presidential and National Assembly elections will take place on February 2027, while governorship and state houses of assembly polls were scheduled for March 6, 2027. Away from that, the Nigerian Navy has flagged off Exercise Operation Awkward 2026, a major harbor defense drill designed to test operational readiness and strengthen the nation's maritime security architecture. The exercise was launched at Nigerian Navy ship Kada in Apapa, Lagos, where the officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Abdullahi Abubakar Mustafa, said the drill would assess the preparedness of personnel and equipment, identify operational gaps, and refine strategies for effective maritime defense. Rear Admiral Mustafa explained that the operation forms part of the Navy's broader commitment to sustaining a highly professional force capable of safeguarding critical national assets and upholding Nigeria's sovereignty. The commander of Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft, Commodore Iwoyo Adams Aliyu, emphasized that the drill underscores the Navy's dedication to continuous training and operational preparedness amid evolving maritime challenges. Participants in the exercise were urged to uphold high standards of discipline and professionalism throughout the duration of the drill, as the Navy continues efforts to enhance maritime safety and security across the nation's coastal waters.
Other exercises in the Navy are in line with the Chief of the Naval Staff mission to deploy a highly motivated and a professional naval force capable of safeguarding Nigeria's maritime interests and collaborating effectively with other agencies in defense of Nigeria's sovereignty. And exercises such as this actually help us to test our men and equipment to know their real state of readiness. And gaps identified would help us recalibrate our strategy, our tactics, techniques and procedure so that we're better able to defend our maritime space. And if you observed, most partner countries want to come to Nigeria to train with the Nigerian Navy because of the high level of professionalism displayed by our Navy. And this also attests to the recent ranking of our Navy as top 22 in the world. And most countries want to train with us, want to train with our special forces. And this exercise gives the opportunity for our men to be more proficient in their equipment and also in their seamanship. And
in an increasingly complex maritime environment, threats to shipping, installations, and personnel demand vigilance, discipline, and swift response. Exercises of this nature provide a platform to rehearse procedures, validate communication channels, and ensure that every unit and individual understands their role in safeguarding our assets and maintaining operational superiority within Western Naval Command area of responsibility. As we observe and participate in the exercises lined up for this period, we are reminded of the timeless wisdom captured in the words widely attributed to General Norman Schwarzkopf.
In another development, the Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft has handed over 5 bags of cannabis sativa weighing about 500 kilograms to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, in Lagos. Commander of NNS Beecroft, Commodore Awuyo Adams Aliu, who told newsmen that the consignment was intercepted by the ship's quick response team, explained that the team seized the illicit substance after intercepting a van suspected to be transporting illegal drugs in the Amowo Dolphin local government area of Lagos State. Commodore Adams Aliu said the successful interception underscores the Nigerian Navy's sustained efforts to curb criminal activities within the nation's maritime environment. He also reaffirmed the Navy's commitment to continued collaboration with other security agencies to secure Nigeria's coastal corridors. Receiving the seized drugs, NDLEA Deputy Commander of Narcotics, Adejumo Gbenga Ayo, assured that the agency would carry out further investigations to uncover those behind the consignment. The development highlights the growing interagency cooperation aimed at dismantling drug trafficking networks and ensuring a safer maritime domain.
The 12th of February, my team was in Gidan Drama and we made certain arrests. Those people that are arrested are currently being charged to court. Then subsequently, 9th Brigade Nigerian Army, we intend to do another snap operation. But I cannot stand in camera and tell you what we intend to do, because as I'm talking to you, the people that you are perpetrating the crime are watching the television, they are listening to the radio. Let us wait and see the results. That's just my charge to you. Land routes that are also manned by many of these agencies. So what is being done is just synergy. But you have to understand that criminals, especially drug cartel, they metamorphose. They are also dynamic. But going forward, as they are changing their tactics, we intend to strategize to be at least many steps ahead of them to curb the proliferation of such drugs.
For now, there is no other alternative than burning. And the agency is working towards having a better alternative than burning. But for now, that's the approved way of destroying the...
Now moving on, the Copyright Society of Nigeria, COSAN, has called on the federal government to abolish the alleged scam machine by the immediate past Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice to siphon funds from unsuspecting Nigerian musicians. Chairman of the CASN board, Tony Okoroji, who made the call while addressing journalists in Lagos, also urged the federal government to urgently dismantle the alleged scheme and restore transparency to the management of musicians' royalties in the country. Okoroji also demanded the reopening and full prosecution of 7 criminal cases instituted at the Federal High Court against the Musical Copyright Society of Nigeria, MCSN, and its officers. He alleged that the cases were stalled under what he described as bizarre circumstances during his tenure.
That to ensure that the funds resulting from the private copyleft scheme are not frittered away or rapidly stolen. The federal government should immediately request that no money resulting from the scheme is shared or spent by anyone forthwith until an equitable process for the distribution of the funds between the various right owners is determined in an open and transparent manner. That the purported approval license given to Musical Copyright Society Nigeria to collect royalties on behalf of innocent Nigerian musicians by Mr. Abubakar Malami, the immediate past Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, without following due process, be immediately annulled in the same manner that the earlier approval license given to MCSM was annulled by President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Moving on, an Islamic scholar, Sheikh Abdurrahman Adangba, has urged Nigerians to explore opportunities within the global halal market, describing it as a viable pathway for economic development and improved livelihoods. The Imam of Adangba Central Mosque made the call during the Ramadan lecture organized by Muslim Engineers Association of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSE, Ikeja branch in Lagos on Saturday. The lecture, themed Global Halal Markets and Islamic Consumer Behavior, focused on the economic potential of the rapidly expanding halal industry. Adangba noted that the global halal market, which covers sectors such as food, finance, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, and tourism, continues to attract significant international investment. He stated that Nigeria must position itself strategically to benefit from the growing demand and leverage the market for national economic growth. The cleric emphasized that harnessing the halal value chain would not only boost the country's economy, but also create employment opportunities and promote ethical business practices for the benefit of humanity. Also speaking, a former president of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers, Engineer Ahmed Olugbenga Lawal, described the lecture as enlightening, particularly for participants who previously had limited knowledge of the halal market and its economic advantages. Lawal added that the program provided valuable insight into the principles guiding halal products and services, as well as their relevance in both local and global markets. Participants of the lecture commended the organizers for creating a platform that deepened understanding of Islamic consumer behavior and highlighted new economic opportunities for professionals and entrepreneurs.
So exploiting the global halal market is investing in halal stuffs. So when we invest in halal stuffs and we do it sincerely and honestly, the gap between the poor and the rich will be little, and so we'll have peace and security in all over the world. And many people will have money than who has just had it now because of the capitalist type of government that we are running. But if you run the halal global market and we run it Islamically the way it should be done, then definitely the world will be a better place to live in future.
I think that with this lecture, investment by Muslims and particularly engineers will be improved, and then we are surer of how and what is the difference between riba and profits, because that's one of the scary things about investment in the Islamic world. You want to be sure that what you are earning is not a riba, and is an end profit which you want, which is blessed by Allah. So that is my taking away from that.
The lecture topic is very, very inspiring, and we have had a very good guest speaker who actually delivered very well on the subject matter. This topic of the lecture is the global halal market and the behavior of Islamic scholars or students generally. Now, the lecture is very apt because before this time, not many of us knew about this. But the guest speaker was able to hit the nail on the head, and he said the global market had been there for long. But many are probably not aware, and they probably don't know how to access it.
The take home and the intention is to let people be aware that in doing business in Nigeria, you can make money without going through backdoor, without consuming haram, that you can make halal money without doing something that is against Islam, that is against the will of Almighty Allah. Because the purpose of our creation is to serve Allah willingly and intentionally. He has enjoined us to serve Him properly without committing any sin. That is one of the main reasons that we always try to organize this Ramadan lecture, and also to emphasize the importance of Ramadan in the life of a Muslim, the importance of observing our fasting properly in the month of Ramadan.
In a related development, Muslims faithful have been urged to sustain acts of charity and avoid what Almighty Allah forbids during and after the Ramadan fast. The Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Obafemi Hamzat, made the call at the 2026 annual Ramadan lecture and mega Asalatu organized by NAFSAT. Represented by the Special Advisor to the Governor on Political, Legislative and Civic Engagement, Afolabi Tajuddin, he said the message was crucial for NASFAT members to uphold the commandments of Allah, stressing that Islam is a religion of peace and unity. The Deputy Governor of Ogun State, Noimot Salako Yedele, commended NASFAT committees for their role in community development and the welfare of citizens, congratulated Muslims on Ramadan and praised the organization's leadership for its dedication. The guest lecturer, Professor Lukman Adedeji of the University of Lagos, speaking on the theme, "We made you into nations and tribes," urged Muslim faithful to love one another irrespective of language, culture, tribe or race, noting that all are equal before Almighty Allah. A former Lagos State Commissioner for Home Affairs, Abdul Hakim Abdul Latif, said Islam does not promote violence and that the actions of Boko Haram contradict Islamic teachings. NASFAT President Abdul Rauf Ayodeji called on Muslims to uphold good character, care for one another, and reject ritual killings, urging government and parents to act decisively to curb social vices.
We need to have taqwa. We need to give all that Quran the Hadith says about Islam, about how to do. You must respect the view of Almighty Allah through Quran and Hadith. You must respect that of Anabi Muhammad through his teachings and practices. If you do that, I think it's part of what we should have to do. And you had Abdul Hakim Abdul Latif telling us the 8 set of people that needs to be careful about. All those things that he has expatiated, we should just try as much as possible to move away from it.
As NASFAT has marked just over 3 decades of impactful existence, I want to commend the vision, the discipline, and the consistency that has sustained this organization. You built on the very solid foundations of our forebears, Ansarudeen Society of Nigeria, Nawaruddin Society of Nigeria, Jamaatul Islamiyah, and many others. And you have emerged as a younger organization, but with a fresh model of engagement. Today, it is fair to say that NASFAT has become a trailblazer, redefining how Islamic societies organize, communicate, and inspire. Congratulations.
Islam does not support any hardship on anybody. It doesn't support you killing somebody. It doesn't support you waylaying people on kidnapping people. That anybody doing this are wrong. And you can see what the lecturer states clearly. Those that are even corporate. That some of us that are refusing to talk about it. Some of us that are refusing to talk about it. Some of us that are saying, looking at it that it's not concerning us. We are also part of the corporate. We are for so many years. This thing has been happening in Nigeria before it goes to this level. What has the government been doing at various levels? At local government, at state government, at federal government level. People should realize that security of a country is the business of everybody.
State in fact, Pastor Rahman argues that Quranic diversity promotes ethical pluralism, allows societies to grow through mutual moral engagement and uniformity. He believes that society will neither grow nor develop if the entire world possesses the same ideology, the same identity, the same culture, the same character, and creativity or ability.
Now, as part of its corporate social responsibility initiatives, Hantech Markets, a financial trading firm, has taken steps to strengthen the financial capacity of Nigerian youths by providing access to vital financial knowledge aimed at promoting self-reliance. Speaking at the Hantech Markets Investors Education Program held in Lagos, Chief Executive Officer of Nairametrics, Ugo Obichukwu, emphasized the importance of continuously seeking accurate and reliable financial information. He noted that every form of investment requires a proper understanding of its guiding principles and encouraged participants to take advantage of training platforms such as the Hantech Markets program. He advised prospective investors to learn from individuals with proven investment success and to rely only on credible sources of information when making financial decisions. Managing Director, Hantech Markets, Mike Fowokwe, stated that the company is committed to building the financial capacity of young Nigerians and helping them develop access to reliable information networks. Fowokwe added that Hantech Markets provides a platform where individuals can insistently or consistently obtain guided financial education, equipping them with the knowledge needed to make informed investment choices and achieve financial stability.
People who are very smart with investing are people who have a lot of information, people who read a lot and have the right network and the right people. So investing is all about understanding the asset classes that you're investing in. So I often say that if you're an orange seller, you know everything about orange. You know when orange ripes, you know when it spoils, you know how to store it, you know how to distribute it, you know everything around selling orange. So it's the same thing with investing. So if you're investing in stocks or in bonds, you have to understand the asset class that you're investing in. And so the only way you can understand is continuously informing yourself. So through podcasts, through reading articles, through reading books, through listening to people that have been successful and the kind of advice that they usually give, and even attending sessions like this. They're also very important sources of wealth of knowledge. So that's what I would advise young people.
Hantech believes in empowering people. This is what we've been doing for the past 35 years. We are passionate about that. We want to see people doing well, actually. We want to see that the people's financial capacity improves. So we don't joke about it. So ANTEC, basically, one of our mantra is, the major actually, is to empower people. So this we do with all our passion. And aside that, we also support our traders, because we believe that if everybody is doing well, I mean, it's not as good as that.
Away from that, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has foiled attempts to drug or buy drug traffickers to smuggle cocaine and opioids out of Nigeria, arresting several suspects and seizing large quantities of illicit substances. In a bizarre incident, a 35-year-old businesswoman, Rabi Muhammad, was intercepted at the Semiland border with a fake pregnancy, concealing 3,200 capsules of tramadol. The same day, an Ivorian, Michael Gohori, was caught at Kano's Malam Aminu Kano Airport with 82 wraps of cocaine weighing 1.49 kilograms hidden in his stomach. The NDLEA also arrested Kolapo Oladapo Raji, the chairman and chief executive officer of Trans Fortress Global Resources, a real estate development firm, at his Lagos residence. Raji, a suspected drug kingpin, had been on the agency's watch list since 2025. A search of his home recovered 89.20 kilograms of Canadian loud, a strong strain of cannabis, and a 2024 model Toyota Hilux. Other arrests include Uguja Kingsley with 56 kilograms of skunk in Lagos, Ekwe Arinze with 75 kilograms of skunk in Oshodi, and a 68-year-old grandmother, Evelyn Ogenewu, with 23 kilograms of processed cannabis in Edo State. The agency also seized 170,900 bottles of codeine-based syrup at the Port Harcourt Sports Complex, 7,300 pills of tramadol in Kogi State, and 936 kilograms of skunk in Bauchi State. The NDLEA chairman, retired Brigadier General Mohammed Boba Marwa, commended the officers involved in the operations, stating that their efforts are crucial to the agency's war against drug abuse. It was a moment of joy and thanksgiving for family members, friends and well-wishers as Adeyanju Adetoro marked her 80th birthday in a colorful celebration. The octogenarian expressed deep gratitude to God, lifting her hands in praise for the gift of life and the grace to witness the milestone in good health. The celebration was held in recognition of her outstanding contributions to the church, her community, and her family, where she is widely admired for her dedication, kindness, and exemplary lifestyle. Tributes poured in from loved ones and associates who described her life as worthy of emulation, noting that her good deeds and strong faith have continued to inspire many, even at the age of 80. Leading the goodwill messages was the minister in charge, who thanked God for granting her the grace to live a healthy and fulfilled life, while praying for continued strength and divine favor upon her. The highlight of the event was the ceremonial cutting of a birthday cake, marking a memorable moment in the grand celebration of a life of service, faith, and impact.
78, 79.
My age from 1 to 80 is quite a long journey. I was born in Lagos with the family of Mr. and Mrs. Taylor. They are both Lagosian. I have my marriage in 1940, I think it's 46. Thereafter, I had 3 boys and 2 girls. 3 girls, and Well, after having that baby, I still have twins twice in my life. I do praise my God. My husband died 2 years ago. It makes me so rough, so unhappy, but I thank God for keeping me till now. He left me when I least expected him to die. But here am I today. I'm very hardworking. I take care of my children, and they are all doing well. Thank be to God.
Can I step up my mother? She has been a rock in my life. I'm being the first child. I guess I have a lot more stories about her and all the challenges and the sacrifices she made for each and every one of us. I will speak for myself, and I am forever, ever grateful. And it's not just me, it's not just her children, it's also the extended family and what she means to a lot of people, which is why the turnout is as good as it is. I really feel very privileged and lucky to be celebrating her 80th birthday with her, and I wish her a much longer life in Jesus' name.
My mom, she's a wonderful, she's very loving mother. She's a disciplinarian, and she's strict, but at the same time she's very caring. As a proprietress, our disciplines are not touched.
I'm the only brother amongst them, and all the while she has been very nice to me. She has been very cordial. She's a mother to all my siblings. She taught us so many things. She educates us. She treats us fine. So in fact, we have a lot of things. We cannot do without thanking her for everything, for the grace of God being bestowed us today. It's a bad day.
My big cousin, so I call her Auntie Nyoju. She's a very amiable person. She's warm, very nice. She's humble too, and she's caring. She's always looking after one, asking about one's welfare and everything. And I really do appreciate God's love and care in her life. She's been a wonderful person. She's a very good mother, grandmother, very amiable, very nice. And I can only pray that God should continue to be with her, give her longer years to celebrate in sound health, in happiness.
You're watching the Primetime News on Mitv. Coming up next is foreign news after the break. Welcome back. Now to foreign news. United States President Donald Trump has doubled down on his new global tariffs, raising them from 10% to 15%, days after the Supreme Court struck down his sweeping levies on imports. The move came as businesses and governments around the world sought repayment for the estimated $133 billion that Washington has already collected. In a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump announced the raise effective immediately and said the move was based on a review of the ridiculous, poorly written and extraordinarily anti-American decision issued by the Supreme Court on Friday. By a 6-3 vote, the court had ruled that it was unconstitutional for Trump to unilaterally set and change tariffs because the power to tax lies with the U.S. Congress. The court's decision struck down tariffs that Trump had imposed on nearly every country using an emergency powers law known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. The 15% hike announced on Saturday is the highest rate allowed under that law. However, those tariffs are limited to 150 days unless they are extended by Congress. Away from that, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico has issued Ukraine a 2-day deadline to resume the pumping of Russian oil through its territory, threatening to cut off electricity to the war-torn country if this demand is not met. Fico issued his ultimatum to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, warning on X that he would ask state-owned company SEPS to halt emergency supplies of electricity if flows of Russian crude via the Soviet-era Druzhba pipeline crossing Ukraine are not resumed by Monday. Slovakia and neighboring Hungary, which have both remained dependent on Russian oil since the Kremlin launched its invasion of Ukraine almost 4 years ago, have become increasingly vocal in demanding Kyiv resume deliveries through the pipeline, which was shut down after what Ukraine said was a Russian drone strike hit infrastructure in late January. The Slovak leader accused Zelensky of acting maliciously towards his country, alluding to Ukraine's earlier halting of Russian gas supplies after a 5-year-old transit agreement expired on January 1st, 2025, which he claimed is costing Slovakia damages of 500 million euros, about $589 million per year. Describing Zelensky's actions as unacceptable behavior, he said that his refusal to involve the Slovak Republic in the latest 90 billion euros military loan for Ukraine had been absolutely correct. Now to France. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot says U.S. Ambassador Charles Kushner will be summoned over the U.S. Embassy's recent comments on the killing of a far-right French activist this month in the southeastern city of Lyon. Barrot told 2 international media houses on Sunday that the country would summon the United States ambassador to France since the U.S. Embassy in France commented on the tragedy, which concerns the national community. He added that France rejected any attempts to use the tragedy for political purposes. The Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs did not say when Kushner, the father of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, will be summoned. The killing of Quentin Durang, 23, has highlighted a climate of political tensions before the next year's presidential election. President Emmanuel Macron, who is not eligible to run due to term limits, called for calm on Saturday as about 3,000 people joined a march in Lyon, organized by far-right groups to pay tribute to Durang. Durang died from head injuries when he was beaten on the sidelines of a February 12 demonstration against an appearance by a politician from the left-wing France Unbowed LFI party in Lyon. In another story, Pakistan's military early on Sunday carried out air raids in Afghanistan, targeting what it called camps and hideouts belonging to armed groups and behind a spate of recent attacks, including a deadly suicide bombing at a Shia mosque in Islamabad. Pakistan's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting said in a statement on X on Sunday that the country's military conducted intelligence-based selective operations against 7 camps and hideouts belonging to the Pakistan Taliban, also known by the acronym TTP and its affiliates. The ISIL affiliate in Khorasan province, or ISKP, which claimed responsibility for a suicide attack in the capital earlier this month, was also targeted in the operation, the ministry said. The Pakistani ministry said it had conclusive evidence that recent attacks in Islamabad, as well as in the northwestern Bajar and Banu districts, were perpetrated by fighters at the behest of their Afghanistan-based leadership and handlers. The Afghan Ministry of Defense condemned the attacks that hit a religious school and residential homes in the border province of Nangarhar and Paktika, resulting in dozens of deaths and injuries, including women and children. The Defense Ministry condemned the attacks as a breach of international law and the principles of good neighborliness and promised to respond. Now to Tehran. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has pledged not to fold to pressure from the United States after his American counterpart Donald Trump said he was considering limited strikes to force a deal on Tehran's nuclear program. Pezeshkian's comments came amid high tensions in the Gulf, with the U.S. continuing to grow its military presence with the deployment of 2 aircraft carriers and dozens of jets. Pezeshkian said at a ceremony to honor members of the Iranian Paralympics team that Iran will not bow down in the face of any of these difficulties. He said world powers are lining up with cowardice to force Iran to bow down, saying just as the team did not bow down in the face of difficulties, Iran would not bow down in the face of these problems. Iran and the U.S. resumed indirect talks on Tehran's nuclear program in Oman earlier this month and held a second round in Switzerland last week. Although Washington and Tehran described the talks in overall positive terms, they failed to achieve a breakthrough. We're due for another short break. When we return, we'll bring you sports news. Welcome back. Now to sports news. Alexis Mac Allister's 97th minute goal rescued Liverpool from a lackluster performance to beat struggling Nottingham Forest 1-0 on Sunday, in a huge boost to their chances of Champions League football next season. Forest's 4th manager of the season, Vitor Pereira, was taking charge for the first time in the league, and his side looked set to earn a deserved point until a dramatic finale. Mac Allister had a goal ruled out when he charged down Olaino's clearance in the closing stages. The ball was deemed to have struck the Argentine midfielder on the arm. However, to Pereira's fury, Forest did not heed the warning as they slipped to within 2 points of the Premier League relegation zone. Mac Allister swept home a rebound after Virgil van Dijk's header was saved. After another lengthy VAR review, this time the call went to Liverpool's favour despite Hugo Ekitike standing in an offside position. Liverpool remain in 6th, but climbed level on points with Chelsea and Manchester United, and within 6 points of Aston Villa. And that's the Primetime News on Mitv. Thank you for watching. I'm Stella Opara. Good night.
This Ramadan, tensions rise and hearts are tested. Two rival sisters can love heal what pride broke. A defiant daughter, will she earn forgiveness? A young bride, can her faith bring her husband back? A wealthy businessman forced to rediscover family. An influencer torn between friendship and fame. A single mother learning that even strength needs support. 6 stories, 30 days. Faith, family, friendship, food, and forgiveness. Tales of Ramadan Season 2. Watch every dramatic moment on TV and digital.